Hi everyone, and welcome in. Today I want to share one of my favorite workshops to teach for my persistent pain clients with some concepts that I believe are really fundamentally important to setting you up for long-term success on your healing journey. In trying to work with my own persistent pain over the years, I tried a lot of different things. And whether it was working with a physical therapist or following a self-guided fitness program online, nothing seemed to yield the consistent and sustainable relief and improvement that I was really desperately craving. And maybe the most frustrating element of failing to find that healing was not being able to understand why it wasn't working or how to help myself moving forward. My biggest turning point came when I finally dove all the way into understanding some of the core principles for myself behind pain physiology, coupled with corrective exercise and human anatomy. Developing a deeper knowledge of the foundations behind these things empowered me to craft my own movement routines based on my unique injury history and my lifestyle. It allowed me to see why or why not a past routine had worked, and whether or not ones that I saw online had a good chance of giving me what I needed. I truly believe that education, that deeper knowledge, is something that everyone suffering from long-term pain can benefit from, even if you don't want to craft entire routines by yourself, and you'd prefer to have a guide like me alongside to share that experience with you. So today we're going to start with some of the most important building blocks in that pain education. We're going to dive into the physiological processes around how pain is formed, both short and long-term, how we can start to view that healing process as working on the entire self, and some of the various tools, both meditative and moving, that someone can add to their toolkit to keep going in that positive direction. Let's get to it. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome into today's workshop. Welcome into Mending Mixed Signals, a less painful introduction to chronic pain and the healing journey with me, your host, Dodge McIntosh. I'm really excited to share this with you, and I'm really glad that you're here. We've got some great workshop content ahead, jam-packed with a ton of helpful info that will hopefully leave you feeling like you have a better handle on your pain journey and are feeling more empowered to face that journey with renewed energy and confidence. So a quick rundown on what we're going to be talking about today. We'll start things off talking about a malleable mindset, the way that your mind and your body can change, the way that they have changed, including some of the ways maybe that they've gotten you into trouble, and some of the ways that offers hope for the path ahead. We're going to spend a lot of time talking about the physiology of pain, how pain is generated in the body, whether that's short-term or acute, and then the ways that turns into long-term or chronic pain. We're also going to spend some significant time discussing the navigation towards healing and really how to build that toolkit for yourself that's customized around your lifestyle, your unique injury history, and the things that you want to get out of movement, out of your body. And finally, we'll talk about what taking those next steps can look like if you do want to work with somebody like me to help guide you along that journey. Before we jump into all of that, I want to share a little bit about myself. So like I mentioned at the top, my name is Dodge McIntosh. We've got some credentials there, and we'll go over all of that on the next slide. But really overall, what I want to share about myself is what I hope to help you with. So I'm somebody who teaches my clients the principles of corrective exercise, of breath work, and of nervous system reconditioning. I do all of this so that they can empower themselves with research-based practices to move towards a pain-minimized lifestyle and really reclaim the joy in their lives. I'm somebody who has also been a long-term pain sufferer myself. I know what those really low lows can feel like, how defeating that can be, how depressing that can be, how much anxiety that can cause, how much stress and pressure comes with it, and how all of that leaks into every facet of your life. When you have that long-term pain, it's not just that your ankle is hurting or your back's a little sore. Eventually that pain can and does filter into every aspect of your life. So I have been in those valleys with you, but I also know how incredible it can feel to get some relief from all of that. And so that's really why I'm here talking about all of this. That's why I'm so passionate about all of this, is to help others feel some of that sense of relief and reclaim the joy in their lives. All right, so with that, let's go ahead and get started. All right, as promised, just some quick housekeeping as we're getting going here, namely talking a little bit about my scope of practice and some of the things that we'll discuss today. So, as you see up there, those first two line items are really my scope of practice. I'm a certified personal trainer and corrective exercise specialist through the National Academy of Sports Medicine, and I'm a certified breathwork teacher through a Yoga Alliance certified course. And those are going to be the two main areas of focus for the programs that I create with my clients. We'll explore some other avenues of healing, and of course, I'm always adding more to the toolkit, but those two will form a lot of the foundations of what we're doing. With corrective exercise, we look at the more mechanical aspect of what we do. And then a lot of the breath work and meditation techniques make up the nervous system side of that conditioning that we do. You'll also see some very important disclaimers there. I am not a medical doctor. I'm not a licensed therapist. Please always, always, always consult with your primary healthcare provider first when you're experiencing symptoms of pain or discomfort, and seek the advice of your doctor or other qualified health provider regarding the diagnosis of a medical condition. One of the main things that we'll learn throughout the workshop today when we're experiencing pain is that pain is ultimately a protector. It's our body trying to send us a message about something potentially going on in our body. A lot of times, the perspectives that we'll talk about today deal with acute injuries, followed by that turning into chronic or long-term pain. We'll talk about those pain signals not shutting off when they should, or not quieting down, not lowering that volume when we should. So that's really a lot of the focus that we'll have for today. But again, like I've written on the screen here, please consult your primary healthcare provider first if you're experiencing that pain or discomfort, because it can be signs of underlying medical conditions or different problems. And so we always want to rule all of that out first before we jump into some of the techniques that we'll be going over today. Now that we've got all that out of the way, let's get into some of this malleable mindset. And I want to just start our presentation today with this particular quote in mind. So this is from Marie Curie, Nobel Prize-winning physicist and chemist. Nothing in life is to be feared. It is only to be understood. Now is the time to understand more so that we may fear less. And I think this is really, really important when we're discussing pain, when we're discussing persistent long-term pain specifically, and all of the struggles that could come with it. If you've been dealing with that on your own for a while, it can start to be really scary. It can start to feel like there's not a way out, or that you might not even know what's going on with your body when a lot of this pain is being experienced. And so that's why really the groundwork of this workshop series, and this first one in particular, is so focused on education. It's about understanding all of those different processes that are going on so that we can move from a place of fear to that place of understanding and empowerment. While we're exploring that understanding and empowerment, I want to share some stats about how just widespread of a phenomenon that chronic pain is here in the US. If you are suffering from long-term or persistent pain, you're definitely not alone. And that's another goal of this workshop series and of the work that I do, is just to build community. There's a lot of research that's shown that even by becoming part of a community, being able to share in that suffering with others, that there's benefits towards some levels of relief from your pain. So you are part of this community. You're definitely not alone. In fact, an alarming number of people are also suffering with you in this. We'll start things off with 21%. During 2021, an estimated 21% of US adults, that's nearly 52 million people, experienced chronic pain. And about 17 million people experienced high-impact chronic pain. That's pain that results in substantial restriction to your daily activities. And this last number here, 4 times. People with chronic pain are also 4 times more likely to have depression or to have anxiety than those who are pain-free. As we'll see throughout the rest of this workshop, that pain that we're experiencing in our bodies can get really intertwined with the pain that we experience in our nervous system, in our emotions, in our thinking. And so with all of this in view, hopefully you can start to feel that you're not alone. Hopefully we're showing really how widespread this is and why it's so important to take this work on. So how did we get here? How did we end up in this place that we're in? And even more critically, how can we find a way forward? Well, it all comes down to adaptation. Our bodies are remarkable machines, constantly adapting and responding to the demands that we place upon them. But sometimes this adaptability can lead to unintended consequences, like movement compensations and chronic pain. Imagine a scenario where you sustain an injury, a sprained ankle, for instance. In response, your body naturally wants to protect itself and avoid further harm. It's a survival instinct that's deeply ingrained in our DNA. So, what happens next? Well, your body compensates. To alleviate stress on the injured ankle, you may unknowingly shift your weight to the other side, favoring the uninjured leg. Initially, this compensation can seem harmless, a temporary adjustment to facilitate the healing. However, our bodies are incredibly efficient and they quickly find the path of least resistance. So that compensatory movement pattern becomes ingrained, altering your natural biomechanics. As time goes by, this compensation begins to create a ripple effect throughout your entire musculoskeletal system. That imbalance caused by favoring one side affects other joints, muscles, and tissues. Your body tries its best to maintain the functionality that you're asking of it, but the altered movement pattern puts excessive strain on certain areas while underutilizing others. Overworked muscles become strained, joints lose their optimal range of motion, and pain gradually sets in. What's truly fascinating and really frustrating is that our bodies adjust to the new norm, even if that norm involves imbalances and compensations. The longer that these compensations persist, the more deeply ingrained they can become, creating a vicious cycle of chronic pain and dysfunction. And it's essential to understand that this process isn't limited to acute injuries alone. Repetitive movements, poor posture, and sedentary lifestyles can all contribute to the development of compensatory patterns. Our bodies strive to adapt and find ways to accomplish the tasks that we are demanding of them, even if it means sacrificing optimal movement and alignment. But this adaptation that got us into trouble can also be our superpower. That same remarkable capacity to learn, to adjust, and restore balance offers us the avenues for healing that are really nothing short of incredible. Our bodies possess this inherent plasticity, an ability to rewire and reshape connections within our nervous system. This phenomenon, known as neuroplasticity, allows us to learn and refine movement patterns, even in the face of adversity. Through targeted rehabilitation exercises and therapeutic interventions, we can tap into this remarkable adaptability. By consciously retraining our movement patterns and challenging our bodies in safe and controlled ways, we create new neural pathways. Our brains eagerly respond, recalibrating the signals sent to our muscles, joints, and tissues. Over time, this reprogramming leads to improved biomechanics, enhanced motor control, and reduced pain. That same adaptability that once caused compensations now becomes our ally in that quest for healing and restoration. But the healing potential of our bodies extends far beyond that physical realm. The mind-body connection, which is often underestimated, plays a significant role in our overall well-being. By harnessing the power of our thoughts, beliefs, and emotions, we can influence our body's responses and facilitate the healing process. Research has shown that practices such as mindfulness, meditation, and positive visualization have a profound impact on our physiology. They can lower stress levels, modulate pain perception, and promote a sense of calm and resilience. This mind-body synergy taps into our body's innate adaptability, creating this fertile ground for healing to take place. So, as we navigate some of these twists and turns on our healing journey, let's remember this incredible adaptability of our bodies, because it's there that we can find some of that hope, strength, and the potential for new transformation. And as we're starting to embrace that adaptability, I also want us to explore a little bit of adaptability around the language that we use, specifically with the term chronic pain. There's this excellent book here on screen that I really recommend reading by Dr. Monty Lyman called The Painful Truth. And one of the most interesting early takeaways in it is this shift from chronic pain to persistent pain. The terms chronic pain and persistent pain share similarities in terms of lasting for an extended duration. Both of these indicate that pain persists beyond the expected healing time. But there's a subtle difference in the connotations and what these terms imply. Chronic pain often carries a sense of permanence, suggesting a condition that is ongoing and unlikely to completely resolve. It can be perceived as a long-term burden, potentially leading to feelings of hopelessness or resignation. And that emphasis on the word chronic may reinforce the idea that the pain is unchanging and resistant to treatment. On the other hand, the term persistent pain may offer a more optimistic outlook. It still acknowledges the enduring nature of the pain, but it doesn't necessarily imply a sense of permanence. Persistent suggests a continuous presence, but leaves room for the possibility of improvement or resolution. It implies that the pain persists for now, but does not guarantee that it will persist indefinitely. By using this term persistent pain, there is a subtle shift towards a more hopeful perspective. It allows for the potential of finding effective treatments, management strategies, and interventions that could lead to alleviation or even elimination of the pain over time. So for today, let us consider the notion of persistent pain as a practical framework for understanding and managing our pain. By doing so, we can embark on a journey where progress is possible, even in the face of ongoing challenges. So from that malleable mindset, I want to spend our first big block of time together talking about pain physiology, how pain is formed in the body and how that is perceived by our nervous system. I want to start that conversation by exploring the concept of the mind-body connection, likely something that you've heard of. Traditionally, the concept of the mind-body connection has been a prevalent framework for understanding and describing the link between a person's thoughts, attitudes, and behaviors and their physical health. Seems simple, right? You have your mind and your body as separate entities, but you know that they're connected at least on some level. However, emerging research and a deeper exploration of the human body's intricate workings invite us to adopt a more unified perspective, a holistic approach that recognizes the critical role of the entirety of our nervous system. In this new paradigm, we recognize that the mind and the body are not separate entities, but rather integral parts of a complex and interconnected system. The nervous system, composed of the brain, spinal cord, and peripheral nerves, serves as the orchestrator of this intricate symphony. Our emotions, thoughts, and perceptions are not solely confined to the mind. They're intricately woven into the fabric of our neural networks, with every experience leaving an imprint on the nervous system. Conversely, our physical well-being, including sensations, movements, and physiological processes, can significantly impact our mental and emotional states. By embracing this unified nervous system approach, we gain a deeper understanding of how our thoughts, emotions, and physical sensations are interconnected. For instance, stress and emotional turmoil can manifest as physical symptoms, such as tension headaches or digestive issues, due to the activation of stress response pathways in the nervous system. Similarly, persistent pain can impact our mental and emotional well-being, as the brain processes pain signals and influences our perception of pain intensity and emotional responses. This shift in perspective encourages a more comprehensive approach to health and well-being. We're recognizing the interplay between the mind, the body, and all of those countless other factors that make up every part of who we are, empowers us to explore holistic interventions and address the root causes of imbalance rather than treating symptoms in isolation. Techniques such as mindfulness, meditation, exercise, and psychotherapy can positively influence the entire nervous system, promoting overall well-being and optimizing those connections between positive mental healing and physical healing as well. So I hope you'll join me in moving beyond the traditional understanding of the mind-body connection. And I invite you to embrace an approach where you're thinking about molding your entire unified nervous system. With this approach, we're going to acknowledge those profound interconnections between our mental, emotional, and physical experiences. And by recognizing the central role of the nervous system, we're going to open doors to new insights and holistic approaches that can enhance our well-being on multiple levels. So let's take a look at a couple key components of how that entire nervous system works more broadly, and then we'll zoom into where pain fits into the picture. First, let's talk about the central nervous system, or the CNS. Made up of the brain and the spinal cord, you can think of the CNS as the control center of your body. The brain carries out a tremendous amount of tasks that we won't be able to comprehensively cover here. But as it pertains to our conversation, our brain is focused on two main things. It helps try to protect you, and it helps try to make sense of the world around you. The brain's responsible for processing information, emotions, memories, and senses like seeing and hearing. And the spinal cord is the primary way that that information is passed back and forth, connecting your brain to the rest of your body. It relays messages, allowing you to move, feel, and respond to various stimuli. We're going to talk in greater detail about the roles that the central nervous system plays in pain throughout the rest of the workshop. But for now, let's also take a quick look at the peripheral nervous system, or the PNS. The peripheral nervous system extends beyond the central nervous system and reaches into every nook and cranny of your body. It consists of countless nerves that serve as messengers between your body and the CNS. Within this peripheral system, we have two main divisions, the somatic nervous system and the autonomic nervous system. The somatic motor nerves carry commands from your brain to your muscles and your organs, allowing you to move, speak, and carry out everyday actions. This is the part of our bodies that we think of as largely under our control, or voluntary. The autonomic nervous system, on the other hand, plays a crucial role in regulating our bodily functions beyond conscious control. The ANS governs essential processes such as heartbeat, digestion, and breathing, allowing us to navigate our daily lives without having to consciously will each individual action. You can think of it as your body's behind-the-scenes manager, working tirelessly to keep things running smoothly. The autonomic nervous system further branches into two more subdivisions, the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems, and these have somewhat opposite but complementary roles. The sympathetic system carries signals that put your body systems on alert, fueling our flight or fight response when faced with perceived threats. It increases your heart rate, releases energy and various hormones, and sharpens your focus, allowing you to respond effectively to potential threats. This can be really helpful when we're trying to survive in a dangerous situation, like a car crash or running from a bear. Where it gets not as helpful is when that same response is triggered even when we are fundamentally safe, but dealing with things like daily stress, negative life events, unresolved trauma, or persistent pain. On the flip side, the parasympathetic system turns on when it's time to rest and recover, carrying signals that return your body systems to their standard activity levels when it's safe to do so, or after those periods of stress or danger. It promotes relaxation, slows down your heart rate, and releases other hormones and supports digestion. Like I mentioned earlier, it's often referred to as that rest and digest system, contrasted with the fight or flight. Essentially, your parasympathetic system is a network of nerves that relaxes your body and helps run life-sustaining processes at those times when you're safe and relaxed. Because these two systems offset each other, they help maintain balance in your body. Sometimes persistent pain or other factors can disrupt this balance, leading to those imbalances in your autonomic nervous system. More specifically for us today, your sympathetic nervous system takes the lead when your survival and safety are at risk, but that system's actions can strain the body systems when it's active for too long. Together, the central nervous system, peripheral nervous system, and autonomic nervous system form this intricate tapestry of nerves functioning harmoniously to facilitate our existence. Understanding the fundamental workings of these grant us insight into the mechanisms that shape our experience and influence our well-being. Okay, so now that we know a few main players in the game, let's spend some time talking about how acute pain is formed. The explanation of acute pain helps us understand a little bit more about how our entire nervous system works. And while the explanation of acute pain cannot fully explain long-term pain, it does help. From there, we'll shift the discussion to when and how that acute pain becomes persistent. Our understanding of acute pain begins with pain signals and reception, specifically with specialized nerve endings called nociceptor nerves. Nociceptor nerves are like the body's own change detectors, alerting us to potential harm or damage. These specialized nerve endings are found in various tissues, such as the skin, muscles, joints, and organs, and they're incredibly sensitive to different types of stimuli. Includes temperature extremes, mechanical pressure, chemicals released during inflammation. This broad sensitivity allows them to detect a whole wide range of potential threats to our body's well-being. Some of those nerves are focused on tissue damage, like a cut or a scrape or stretching of tissue. Others are focused on damage from extreme heat or cold. Some nociceptors are focused on mechanical pressure, such as vertebrae in the spine putting too much pressure on a nerve. We also have nociceptors for detecting chemical changes, such as noticing if we touch acid, also have nerves focused on inflammation, such as the inflammation of a joint or muscle due to injury or illness. When you accidentally touch something hot, stub your toe, or experience any other type of injury or tissue damage, nociceptor nerves spring into action. They send signals to your brain letting it know that something potentially harmful is happening. This is your body's way of saying, hey, we need to pay attention and take action to protect ourselves. It's important to remember here that nociceptor nerves are not the only determinants or even the sources or generators of pain. Nociceptors simply provide that initial input that triggers our brain's interpretation of pain. From that initial detection of change, we move into the transmission or maybe the suppression of pain signals. As we saw in that last slide, once a nociceptor nerve detects a potentially harmful environmental change, it springs into action to send an urgent message to your brain, attempting to sound the alert to ensure your body takes necessary protective measures. First, the nociceptor nerve converts the detected stimulus, such as a sharp object or extreme temperature, into an electrical signal. This electrical signal travels along those nerve fibers like tiny messengers towards the spinal cord. Nerves essentially calling out, danger, we need help. The alarm signals reach the spinal cord, where they undergo processing. There's a fascinating concept called the gate control theory of pain, which suggests that the spinal cord acts as a gate, either allowing or blocking the transmission of pain signals to the brain. Different factors like emotions, attention, or descending pathways from the brain can modify that pain transmission, and the gatekeepers play a crucial role in modulating the pain response and determining the intensity or the perception of pain. If the gatekeepers determine that the pain signal should proceed, the electrical signal continues its journey up the spinal cord towards the brain. The spinothalamic tract is the major pathway for transmitting pain signals, and it carries information related to the intensity, quality, and location of pain to various brain regions. Along the way, it passes through various relay stations where the signal is further processed and filtered. Finally, the pain signal reaches the brain, specifically areas like the thalamus and the cerebral cortex, which are involved in sensory perception and interpretation. Your brain receives the message loud and clear, allowing you to become consciously aware of the pain or initiate those appropriate responses. At the same time, the brain's emotional centers may also become involved, influencing your emotional and psychological response to the pain. This can result in feelings of fear, distress, or anxiety, which all further shape your pain experience. Before we move on here, on that last slide, we just saw that there was some variability about whether or not a pain signal actually goes to the brain. And I want to spend some time and really focus and zoom in on that piece for a bit and talk a little bit more detail about the gate control theory of pain, because it can offer some really good insight into our toolkit that we'll talk about later to manage pain on our own. The gate control theory presents the notion of these conceptual gates that have the power to either permit or inhibit the transmission of pain signals to our perceptive brain. These gates, although they're not actual physical gate structures, are under the influence of different types of nerve fibers residing within the spinal cord. They function as this really sophisticated control mechanism, and the gates take into account a bunch of different factors: the intensity of the pain signal, the contextual backdrop of the pain experience, and the cognitive and emotional state of the person experiencing it. The gates also actively consider a whole bunch of other sensory inputs at the same time, including non-painful stimuli like touch, pressure, and temperature. When those non-painful stimuli engage with the large diameter fibers, which are associated with non-painful sensations, the gates can close, which curbs the transmission of pain signals. It's this phenomenon that explains the tangible relief that can be brought on by techniques such as gentle touch, soothing massage, the application of heat, or the gentle hum of vibrations. These mechanical and physical strategies can intentionally stir those large diameter fibers, contributing to a lessened pain perception. Another pivotal facet within the gate control theory is this really remarkable influence of endorphins. These incredible substances are natural pain relievers crafted by our own bodies and interact with the opioid receptors nestled within the framework of our brain and spinal cord. Any number of activities can ignite the release of these endorphins, ranging from invigorating physical exercise to the contagious joy of laughter, the warmth of social interactions, and the embrace of positive experiences. Their release serves as a key component in the process of gate closure, which suppresses the transmission of pain signals, which gives you relief from discomfort and can foster that profound sense of well-being. We also have to remember that the gate control theory of pain consists of a really complex framework, since there are countless different factors that collectively shape our perception of pain. But from a more structured program standpoint, by integrating some of those mechanical and physical strategies that engage the large diameter fibers alongside activities that ignite the release of endorphins, we can start to optimize our pain management endeavors. As we've been going over these ways that the gates can effectively shut off pain, you may be left asking the question, why would our system ever want to be able to produce pain at all if it has ways of avoiding it? And to answer that question, I really, really like this excerpt from this fantastic book called Chronic Pain Rehabilitation by Dr. Evan Parks. In his example, he states, imagine that you are walking across a busy intersection in Sao Paulo, Brazil. There are 5 lanes of traffic that you have to get across using a pedestrian crosswalk. There's a large group of people that take off with you at the same moment the pedestrian traffic light turns green. A few steps into the journey, you stumble a little bit, just enough to roll your ankle. The moment you roll your ankle, the spine gets information from the nerves in your ankle with information about tissue damage from a pulled or torn ligament. There might also be some type of mechanical pressure that occurred from a bone or joint pushing on some nerves. Due to the injury, you'll also have some inflammation that triggers the inflammation detection nerves to send a signal to the spine that something has changed. As you're walking across this huge intersection, your brain is paying attention to many things beside your ankle. At the same moment your brain gets information about your ankle damage, it's also gathering information about the dangers of crossing all the lanes of traffic. Your brain is not just concerned that there is a problem in your ankle, it is more concerned with keeping you alive. Because there is a threat to your life as you cross the road, your brain decides to ignore the information sent to it that something has changed with your ankle. We can imagine the brain saying something like this. In about 5 seconds, that traffic light is going to turn red, and there will be 5 large trucks, 6 taxis, and a dozen motorcycles heading this way. If the body that I am in charge of is standing here thinking about that injured ankle, it's going to get run over. So for right now, I'm not going to produce any pain for that ankle, and I'll make sure the body gets safely to the other side, out of life-threatening danger. As a result of this brain analysis, you end up walking relatively pain-free to the other side of the road. You take a deep breath, relieved you made it safely. Suddenly, your brain does a new analysis of the situation. The person that I'm in charge of is now out of harm's way. Her life is not in danger, but she should not be walking with all her weight on that ankle. I'll make sure that she does not injure that ankle any more than it is. I'll protect her by producing a good amount of pain so she really pays attention. The next thing you know, the pain in your ankle is sharp and throbbing. You hobble on your painful ankle, being careful to put as little weight as possible on it as you walk. Now picture one more scene in this story. You're walking down the sidewalk, hobbling on your sore, swollen ankle, and you hear people yelling and screaming behind you. You turn and look and see that a large Bengal tiger has broken loose from the local zoo and is racing down the street right toward you. Your brain will conveniently turn off the pain signal to your ankle, and you will run like a world-class athlete with your sprained ankle until you're safe. It turns out that our experience of pain is a result of the analysis done by the brain to determine if there is a threat. If the brain determines that there's a threat to your well-being, it will get your attention. The purpose of pain is to protect us from what the brain thinks is a threat of some kind, but the brain will turn on and off the pain depending on what else is going on. So hopefully that story helps to illustrate what we've been coming to understand so far in this workshop. Pain at its core is a protector. It might be complex, but it is an essential protective mechanism that plays a crucial role in our well-being. It acts as an alarm system, alerting us to potential harm or injury. When we encounter something harmful or potentially damaging, such as touching a hot stove, pain signals are generated and transmitted to the brain. These signals act as a warning, signaling us to take immediate action and remove ourselves from the source of harm. Prompts us to withdraw our hand from the hot surface, preventing further injury. Pain also plays a crucial role in learning and adaptation. When we experience pain, our brain associates it with the specific harmful event or action that caused it. Through this association, we learn to avoid similar situations or actions that could lead to pain in the future. This learned response helps us adapt and make choices that reduce the likelihood of harm or injury. And importantly, pain can also be an indication of an underlying medical condition or disease. And that's why early on I was saying if you are experiencing new pain, or if you've been experiencing pain and haven't gotten it reviewed by a doctor or licensed health professional or your primary care provider, make sure that you go in and get that reviewed first, because it can serve as a signal that something may be wrong within our body. By paying attention to pain and seeking medical attention when necessary, we can identify and address those potential health issues, those underlying health issues that might be there, and we can promote early diagnosis and treatment. So while pain is often associated with negative experiences, it's essential to recognize its protective nature. It alerts us to potential harm, motivates this self-preservation, facilitates learning and adaptation, and helps identify underlying medical conditions. By acknowledging and respecting pain as this protective mechanism, we can start to shift our perspectives around it and how to work with it instead of against it. So that acute pain is a normal response to tissue damage or potential harm, and it typically subsides as the underlying condition heals. However, in some cases, that acute pain can develop into long-term pain, persisting for months or even years beyond the expected healing period. The transition from acute to persistent pain involves some pretty complex mechanisms and can be influenced by some various factors. One really common thread behind the development of many cases of persistent pain is the power of conditioning. Classic conditioning is a fundamental learning process that occurs when a neutral stimulus becomes associated with a significant event or outcome. Pavlov's famous dogs experiment showed that dogs could learn to associate a bell ringing with food, leading to salivation, which just illustrates this concept of classical conditioning and its impact on psychology, right? Some of those experiments laid the foundation for behaviorism and influenced the study of learning and behavior. In the context of persistent pain, this type of conditioning can occur when a person repeatedly experiences pain in conjunction with specific environmental cues, activities, or thoughts. Over time, these neutral stimuli become linked to the pain experience, triggering a conditioned response even in the absence of actual tissue damage. For example, imagine someone who develops long-term back pain after a car accident. Initially, that pain is directly linked to the physical trauma of the accident. However, if this person repeatedly experiences pain whenever they sit in a car or even think about driving, their brain starts associating these cues with pain. As a result, the mere act of sitting in a car or thinking about driving can trigger pain sensations, even if there's no physical injury occurring at that moment. On the flip side of this, understanding classic conditioning can also offer opportunities for managing persistent pain. By identifying and modifying the conditioned responses, we can work towards reducing the pain experiences. Techniques such as exposure therapy and desensitization aim to gradually expose people to the conditioned stimuli in a safe and controlled manner, which helps to break the association between the cues and the pain response. Moreover, interventions that focus on cognitive restructuring and pain education can help individuals understand the role of classic conditioning in their persistent pain experience. By learning about the influence of conditioning and recognizing the difference between actual tissue damage and conditioned pain responses, we can start to develop strategies to reframe pain perceptions and reduce the impact of conditioned pain triggers. We'll talk more about how to get conditioning to work for us a little bit later in the workshop. But for now, let's keep unpacking some more factors around the development of persistent pain. And there can be a lot of different factors that contribute to that development of long-term pain, including things like prolonged tissue damage, right? When the initial injury or underlying condition persists, that continuous nociceptor nerve input can sensitize the nervous system, which leads to increased pain sensitivity and altered pain processing. That persistent pain can induce changes in the nervous system with this neuroplasticity, including structural and functional alterations in the spinal cord, the brain, and the peripheral nerves. These neuroplastic changes can amplify pain signals and promote the maintenance of persistent pain. Prolonged nociceptive input can also lead to central sensitization, which is a process where the central nervous system becomes hypersensitive to pain signals. In this state, even non-painful stimuli can evoke pain responses. and the pain becomes disproportionate to the initial injury or condition. And of course, psychological factors, right? Emotional distress, anxiety, and depression, stress, all of those can influence pain perception and contribute to the development and persistence of long-term pain. That interplay between psychological and physiological factors can create a cycle where pain exacerbates emotional distress, which in turn intensifies pain perception, and back and forth and so on. All right, let's touch on each of these in a little bit more detail. So first, let's dive a little deeper on prolonged tissue damage. One crucial aspect of prolonged tissue damage is the continuous nociceptive input. Those nociceptor nerves remain active and continue to send pain signals to the central nervous system, including the spinal cord and the brain, even after that initial injury has occurred. And there can be that ongoing nociceptor nerve input for a couple different reasons. One of the main ones can be ongoing inflammation. In response to tissue damage, the body initiates an inflammatory response to promote healing. Inflammatory cells release various chemical mediators, which can sensitize the nociceptors and increase their responsiveness to pain stimuli. Right? This heightened sensitivity leads to that prolonged pain signal input, even after the initial injury has occurred. In some cases, damaged tissue may be subjected to continuous mechanical stress or strain. For example, in conditions like arthritis or repetitive strain injuries, the affected joints or muscles may experience repetitive movements or loading, which can perpetuate the tissue damage and activate the nociceptors. Sometimes the initial injury or underlying condition may not fully resolve or heal properly. Factors such as a poor blood supply or inadequate tissue repair mechanisms or that persistent inflammation can impede the healing process. And as a result, the damaged tissue remains in that prolonged state of vulnerability, generating those ongoing nociceptive signals. And last year, nerve involvement. In certain cases, the tissue damage may affect the nerves directly. Nerve injuries, compression, or entrapment can lead to ongoing nociceptive input from those affected nerves. These conditions, such as neuropathic pain, can cause persistent pain signals even in the absence of ongoing tissue damage. Understanding all of these and many other underlying mechanisms contributing to that continuous nociceptor nerve input is going to be really important in managing and treating persistent pain associated with that prolonged tissue damage. And while we're still in the world of the more mechanical or physical damages, I also want to spend just a little bit of time here introducing the cumulative injury cycle. In some cases, that tissue damage that we discussed on the last slide can also lead to this cumulative injury cycle that we see here. And that's because impairment or injury to our movement systems rarely involve just one structure. Because the human movement system, or our HMS here, is an integrated network, an impairment in one system leads to compensations and adaptations in other systems. If one component of our movement system is out of alignment, maybe that's muscle tightness or muscle weakness or altered joint kinematics, it creates a predictable pattern of tissue overload and dysfunction, which leads to this injury and repair response by the body termed the cumulative injury cycle. Repetitive movements, long periods of poor posture, and acute injury all can lead to tissue trauma followed by inflammation. Inflammation, in turn, activates some of the body's physiological pain responses, which initiates a protective mechanism, increasing muscle tension and causing muscle spasm. This increase of muscle tension, or physical bracing, is a common response to pain and discomfort. When folks experience persistent pain, we often adopt a protective posture or engage in physical bracing, which involves tensing or tightening muscles in response to the pain or to the anticipation of pain. Physical bracing, especially when accompanied by fear or anxiety about pain, can activate the sympathetic nervous system, our fight or flight system. That SNS response involves the release of stress hormones, such as adrenaline and cortisol, which can further sensitize the nervous system and amplify those pain signals. As we're starting to understand, this response is a natural instinct aimed at protecting the body from further injury. That muscle spasm that we mentioned earlier, and see on the screen there, that follows that inflammation and accompanies the physical bracing or the muscle tension is not like a calf cramp, right? Although those can be really painful as well. Heightened activity of the central nervous system and those tissue mechanoreceptors And those nerve pain signals in the injured area create a type of microspasm or tension. As a result of the spasm, adhesions may begin to form within the myofascial tissues. Those myofascial tissues are thin casings of connective tissue that surround and hold every organ, blood vessel, bone, nerve fiber, and muscle in place. All of these adhesions form a weak, inelastic matrix that decreases the normal mobility of the soft tissue. That decreased mobility of soft tissue leads to changes in neuromuscular control, the length and tension relationships of the muscles, as well as altered joint motion. And all of those altered normal movement patterns and altered biomechanics cause additional strain on muscles, joints, and other tissues. Over time, that additional strain can lead to those musculoskeletal imbalances, further exacerbating the pain and dysfunction. And all of those changes that cause the muscle imbalances in the body prime us for another injury, which kickstarts this cycle all over again. That pain leads to physical bracing, which perpetuates muscle tension and impairs healing, ultimately leading to more injury, pain, and dysfunction. So I also want to spend some time moving away from the more visible or the more tangible processes of persistent pain and talk about how persistent nociceptor nerve input creates a state of ongoing stimulation of that nervous system. As a response to that continuous input, the nervous system undergoes changes that lead to increased pain sensitivity and altered pain processing. This is that phenomenon that we mentioned earlier called central sensitization. Central sensitization involves a series of these neurophysiological changes in the spinal cord and the brain that result in an amplification of pain signals and enhanced perception of pain. A really common analogy that you might hear out there is to imagine your nervous system as an alarm system, right? Designed to protect you from potential threats. This alarm system is composed of sensory nerves that detect signals from your surroundings, including those pain signals. When a real danger is detected, in our example, such as a burglar breaking into your house, the alarm system activates, turns on the light, sending signals to your brain, and you experience the pain, alerting you to the threat. In a healthy state, this alarm system operates effectively, accurately distinguishing between real threats and those harmless stimuli. The gateways along the spine that we discussed earlier act like filters, allowing only the relevant and important pain signals to pass through, while blocking out those non-threatening stimuli. However, in the case of this central sensitization, the alarm system becomes faulty. Those same gates become more stuck in the open position, allowing a flood of pain signals to pass through, even in response to harmless stimuli. It's as if that alarm system's sensitivity has been dialed up to the very highest level, causing it to trigger false alarm pain responses, even when there's no actual danger present. In this faulty alarm system scenario, even that non-painful things, such as light touch or gentle pressure, can set off the alarm, resulting in the experience of pain that's disproportionate to the actual stimulus. The nervous system has become hypersensitive in this case, and the amplification of pain signals starts to go into that maintenance of persistent pain. Scientifically, this central sensitization is due in large part to our neuroplasticity that we've touched on a couple times, where the structure and the function of the nervous system undergo changes. Prolonged nociceptive input from the damaged tissues or the ongoing inflammation can trigger these neuroplastic changes, where those connections between nerve cells in the spinal cord and the brain become stronger and more excitable, amplifying the transmission of the pain signals. Right? Additionally, some of those balances of the neurotransmitters that we talked about earlier, those chemical messengers in the nervous system may become altered, which further promote the enhanced pain sensitivity. A heightened nervous system isn't the only invisible factor that plays a critical piece in this process. In the experience of persistent pain, psychological factors play a really significant role. Emotional distress, anxiety, depression, and stress can influence how we perceive pain and contribute to the development and the persistence of long-term pain. Imagine for a moment, if you will, a spinning top. Your pain perception and your emotional well-being are intertwined, just like the top and its spinning motion. When you experience persistent pain, it sets the top in motion and emotional distress begins to escalate. This emotional distress, such as feeling anxious or depressed due to the pain, adds energy to the spinning top, making it spin faster and more chaotically. As the top spins faster, it amplifies that perception of pain. Your heightened emotional distress sends signals to your brain, increasing the sensitivity to the pain signals from your body. It's as if that spinning top creates a feedback loop where the emotional distress intensifies the pain, and the increased pain further fuels the emotional distress. Scientifically, this relationship between psychological factors and long-term pain involves some pretty complex interactions within your nervous system. Emotional distress activates some of the same areas in the brain that processes both emotions and pain, such as the amygdala and the anterior cingulate cortex. These areas communicate with regions responsible for modulating pain, including that descending pain control system. However, in the presence of persistent pain and ongoing emotional distress, this communication becomes disrupted. The balance within the pain modulation system is disrupted, leading to an imbalance that favors the amplification of pain signals. On top of all that, psychological factors can also affect physiological processes, such as inflammation and immune system function. For instance, stress and anxiety can trigger the release of stress hormones like cortisol, which can increase inflammation and sensitization of pain pathways in the body. So that interplay between psychological and physiological factors creates a cycle where pain exacerbates emotional distress, and in turn, emotional distress intensifies pain perception. But by addressing both the physical and emotional aspects of long-term pain, such as through interventions that target stress reduction, emotional well-being, and healthy coping strategies, we can start to work towards breaking this cycle and promoting better pain management. One last eye-opening discussion around the formation of persistent pain is the impact that increased activation of the sympathetic nervous system, or increased SNS activation, has, and just how many different things turn that switch on. As we now know, that SNS is responsible for the body's fight or flight response. And when faced with high traumatic events or daily stressors, the sympathetic nervous system becomes activated, leading to those physiological changes designed to protect us in times of perceived danger. During high traumatic events, such as a car accident or a severe injury, the SNS is triggered, resulting in this rapid and intense response. The release of stress hormones like adrenaline and noradrenaline prepares the body for immediate action. While this response is necessary for survival in acute situations, prolonged activation of the SNS in long-term pain can have detrimental effects. But it doesn't have to be a high traumatic event that triggers the SNS response. In daily life, even seemingly minor stressors can activate the sympathetic system to some extent. For example, encountering heavy traffic, receiving an upsetting email, or anticipating a challenging task can activate that sympathetic response. While these events may not pose a direct threat to our immediate physical safety, our body's stress response system may interpret those potential stressors in a similarly threatening manner. When the SNS is chronically activated in the context of pain, it can lead to some of those physiological changes, including increased heart rate, blood pressure, and muscle tension. It can also enhance inflammation and contribute to immune system dysregulation, all changes that we've started to see that can exacerbate that pain perception and contribute to the maintenance of long-term pain. To illustrate, let's consider a daily example. Imagine you have a demanding job that consistently requires long hours and high levels of concentration. Each day, as you face work-related stressors, your body's stress response system becomes activated. The sympathetic nervous system is triggered, leading to increased heart rate, shallow breathing, and muscle tension. Over time, this continual activation of the SNS can contribute to the persistence of your long-term pain by amplifying pain signals and promoting inflammation. Understanding this role of increased SNS activation in persistent pain can help us recognize the importance of stress management techniques and relaxation strategies in pain management. By implementing some of those practices, such as deep breathing exercises, mindfulness, and regular physical activity, seeking social support, we can regulate that SNS response a little bit more, decreasing the physiological arousal and potentially breaking the cycle of persistent pain. So to wrap things up from our first half of the discussion here, long-term pain involves a complex interplay between psychological factors, increased sympathetic nervous system activation and pain perception. Psychological distress and stressors can activate the SNS, leading to those physiological changes that exacerbate pain sensitivity. By addressing both psychological and physiological aspects, we can work towards managing persistent pain more effectively and improve overall well-being. And remember, at its core, pain is trying to protect us. It might not be doing that perfectly, and at times it can feel unbearably defeating. But the sooner that we can change that relationship with our pain, the sooner that we can start to work with it instead of against it. So now that we understand more of how we've gotten to where we are, let's explore some of the tools that we can use to take care of ourselves so that our imperfect protector can take some much needed time off. All right, so for most of the rest of our workshop here, I want to talk about what that roadmap towards healing looks like. What does the journey look like from here moving forward? What are some of those tools that you can add to your toolkit to start to access some more of that pain relief on your own? And nearly all of the tools that we're going to discuss and use fall into these three areas of focus. Calming the nervous system plays a crucial role in pain management by reducing the body's stress response and promoting that state of relaxation. As we've seen, persistent pain often leads to heightened sympathetic nervous system activity, worsening pain and increasing that muscle tension. By engaging in relaxation techniques such as deep breathing, meditation, or mindfulness, we can activate our parasympathetic nervous system, promoting that sense of calmness and reducing pain sensitivity. Our next tool is moving the body with intention. Intentional physical movement and corrective exercise are important components of pain management. Regular physical activity, tailored to individual capabilities and guided by a professional, help to improve overall physical function and mobility. It can promote blood circulation, enhance muscle strength and flexibility. It releases endorphins, those natural pain-relieving chemicals in the body. Corrective exercises specifically target muscle imbalances, postural issues, and movement dysfunctions that might contribute to pain. By addressing these underlying factors, we can improve biomechanics and reduce the strain on affected tissues, thereby managing pain more effectively. And finally, developing emotional flexibility is vital in the context of pain management, because long-term pain often leads to emotional distress, such as anxiety, depression, frustration, and fear. Emotional flexibility involves cultivating adaptive coping strategies and a resilient mindset to navigate the challenges of persistent pain. This includes developing self-awareness, practicing acceptance, engaging in positive self-talk, seeking social support, and engaging in activities that bring joy and fulfillment. By enhancing emotional flexibility, individuals can better regulate emotional responses to pain, reduce stress, and improve overall well-being. When we combine all of these together, these approaches provide that more holistic framework for managing persistent pain. Calming the nervous system reduces pain sensitivity. Intentional physical movement and corrective exercise enhance physical function and pain modulation. And developing emotional flexibility helps people cope with the emotional impact of persistent pain. Before we dive into each of those tools more specifically, I want to share one additional framework that can be useful for thinking about our goals, and that's this idea of balancing the pain scale. Balancing the pain scale between danger in me messages and safety in me messages is this important aspect of pain management and shifting that perception of pain. As we've seen, brains that experience persistent pain can become hypersensitive to pain signals, causing even those non-threatening stimuli to be interpreted as dangerous. This heightened pain response can be influenced by danger in me messages, which are signals from the brain that amplify that perception of pain and reinforce the belief that the body is in danger. Some examples of those danger in me messages could be, if I move, it will hurt. I have a scary diagnosis. Or maybe only that magic bullet cure would help. On the other hand, safety in me messages are signals that communicate to the brain that the body is safe, even in the presence of pain. These messages help to counteract the danger signals and promote a sense of safety and well-being. Some examples of safety in me messages are pain does not equal harm, right? I can be sore but safe. Motion is lotion. I can be active even with pain, or medical testing does not tell the whole story. Balancing the pain scale here involves actively increasing the influence of safety in me messages while minimizing the impact of danger in me messages. And this can be achieved through various strategies and techniques. One of those primary avenues is through education and understanding, like we're doing today. Learning about the mechanisms of pain, neuroplasticity, and the ways in which the brain can modulate pain perception can help individuals reframe their understanding of pain. By gaining knowledge about the complex nature of pain, we can develop a sense of empowerment and reduce the fear and the anxiety surrounding our pain experience. Cognitive strategies, such as cognitive behavioral therapy or CBT, can also be employed to shift the focus from danger to safety. This involves identifying and challenging negative thought patterns and beliefs about pain, and replacing them with more positive and adaptive thoughts. By reframing pain as a signal of sensitivity rather than strictly damage, we can reduce the amplification of pain signals and promote our sense of safety. Additionally, engaging in activities that promote that sense of safety and well-being can help balance the pain scale. These could be relaxation techniques, or engaging in enjoyable hobbies, connecting with supportive social networks, and practicing self-care. By incorporating these positive experiences into daily life, we can strengthen the safety in me messages and create a counterbalance to the dominance of the danger in me messages. One really important thing to note here before we leave this slide is that safety in me messages cannot just be repeated by someone with a persistent pain problem to magically reduce it, right? Although affirmations do have their place in the toolkit. Instead, we are convinced of something by experiencing the new reality directly. And this is why movement, exercise, stretching, strength conditioning, and developing new movement habits play such a critical role in bringing about change in a pain rehabilitation program. So let's return to a deeper look at some of those tools from our toolkit that we're going to take advantage of, starting with calming the nervous system. Calming the nervous system is a crucial aspect of pain management, as it really directly addresses the heightened stress response associated with persistent pain. When that sympathetic nervous system activity becomes overactive, as we see, it can lead to increased muscle tension, the heightened pain sensitivity, and the state of heightened arousal. This heightened SNS activity can perpetuate the pain cycle and make pain feel more intense. So to counteract this response, we're going to explore many techniques to activate the body's parasympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for promoting relaxation and reducing stress. Deep breathing exercises, such as diaphragmatic breathing or mindful breathing, help activate the PNS and shift the body into a state of relaxation. By focusing on slow, deep breaths, we can activate that peripheral response, which in turn helps to reduce muscle tension, lower heart rate, and decrease the release of stress hormones. On top of that, mindfulness and meditation practices can be highly effective in calming the nervous system. These techniques involve focusing attention on the present moment, cultivating a non-judgmental awareness of bodily sensations, thoughts, and emotions. By practicing mindfulness, we can create a sense of inner calm, reduce that anxiety, and promote overall relaxation, which can have a positive impact on pain perception. Overall, engaging in many activities that promote that relaxation, such as taking warm baths, practicing gentle stretching or yoga, listening to soothing music, spending time in nature, can also help to calm the nervous system. These activities all provide an opportunity to unwind, reduce muscle tension, and shift the body's response away from the heightened stress associated with long-term pain. By intentionally moving the nervous system from a sympathetic state to a parasympathetic state, we can interrupt that pain cycle and create an environment that's more conducive to pain management by reducing that stress, that muscle tension, and that pain sensitivity. In that mission to move from sympathetic to parasympathetic, breath work is going to be one of the most accessible tools that we have for using our voluntary system to alter our autonomic responses. Breathwork techniques offer a range of benefits for managing persistent pain by influencing the nervous system and facilitating those positive changes in the body. The breath serves as a powerful tool for regulating the autonomic nervous system, which governs those automatic bodily functions. So by consciously altering the way that we breathe, we can directly impact our physiological and psychological states. Deep, slow diaphragmatic breathing engages the parasympathetic nervous system, signaling to the body that it is safe and allowing for a shift from a state of heightened alertness to one of calmness. Additional breathwork techniques, such as belly breathing, alternate nostril breathing, or guided relaxation exercises activate specific neural pathways that directly communicate with the brain's limbic system, which regulates emotions and pain perception. This activation triggers the release of endorphins and other natural pain-relieving substances, promoting a sense of well-being and reducing pain intensity. Breathwork also works to help regulate the body's physiological responses. By focusing on those slow, controlled breaths, we can start to regulate our heart rate. We can lower blood pressure and decrease cortisol levels, which are often elevated in persistent pain conditions. These physiological changes not only contribute to pain reduction, but also work to support overall health and well-being. And finally, consistent practice of breathwork can induce positive neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize and form new connections. Through regular and intentional breathing exercises, we can cultivate a more balanced and resilient nervous system. This enhanced neuroplasticity reduces the hypersensitivity of pain pathways, modulates those pain signals, and promotes that greater sense of control over pain perception. On top of breathwork, there's a number of other tools in the toolkit that we'll use where we start to access relief in our bodies by leveraging mental exercises. Or another way of putting it is working on the body with the mind. Two such ones that we'll take a look at are the body scan and progressive muscle relaxation, or PMR, which are both effective techniques that can aid in pain management by promoting relaxation, reducing muscle tension, and increasing body awareness. Body scan meditation involves systematically bringing attention to different areas of the body, noticing any sensations, tension, or discomfort without judgment. By cultivating the non-judgmental awareness, we can develop a sense of connection with the body and develop the ability to observe pain sensations without becoming overwhelmed by them. Through body scan meditation, individuals can develop that greater understanding of the relationship between their thoughts, emotions, and present physical sensations. And this heightened body awareness allows us to identify areas of tension or discomfort related to pain and strive to release any of that associated muscle tension. Progressive muscle relaxation, or PMR, is another technique that we'll take a look at, and it involves sequentially tensing and then relaxing specific muscle groups in the body. By intentionally tensing the muscles and then releasing the tension, we can promote that deep relaxation and reduce overall muscle tension. PMR helps people develop body awareness by consciously engaging with those different muscle groups, by forming those new neurological connections. And then by deliberately tensing and relaxing them, we become more attuned to the sensation of muscle tension and learn to identify and release areas of chronic tension that might contribute to pain. Both of these techniques can also activate that parasympathetic nervous system and reduce the activity of the sympathetic nervous system. And as we know, the shift from that fight or flight response to the state of relaxation and rest can alleviate stress and decrease that pain perception. The next class of tools that we'll take advantage of all have to do with introducing more movement to the body in one way or another. Engaging in intentional movement, incorporating regular cardiovascular exercise, and integrating corrective exercise approaches play vital roles in the management of persistent pain. When we move our bodies with intention, we activate various physiological processes that contribute to pain modulation and overall well-being. First, when we're talking about intentional movement overall, intentional movement involves consciously connecting with our bodies. We're going to be focusing on proper alignment, posture, and the biomechanics during physical activities. By doing this, we optimize movement patterns, we reduce strain on vulnerable areas, and we promote balanced musculoskeletal function. So overall, this approach helps alleviate the stress and tension that can contribute to persistent pain, and we're going to be creating a foundation for improved physical function. Regular cardio exercise, such as aerobic activities like walking, cycling, swimming, all have numerous benefits for managing pain. That regular cardio increases blood flow, promotes the release of endorphins, and supports the health of the cardiovascular and respiratory systems. Cardio exercise also has a positive impact on the nervous system, reducing stress and anxiety, which can exacerbate that pain perception. So by engaging in regular cardio exercise, we enhance our overall physical fitness, our resilience, and our pain tolerance. And last up top there, we have corrective exercise. Corrective exercises approaches target specific muscular imbalances, weaknesses, or movement dysfunctions that contribute to persistent pain. These exercises aim to restore proper movement patterns, improve joint stability and mobility, and strengthen muscles that may be underdeveloped or compensating for others. By addressing these underlying factors, corrective exercise helps alleviate pain, it helps prevent further injury, and it helps optimize overall movement quality. Throughout all of this, these 3 tiers of movement approaches lead to neuroplastic changes in the nervous system. Consistent movement, consistent exercise stimulate the production of growth factors and promote new synaptic connections, enhancing the brain's ability to modulate those pain signals and promote healing. These activities also help regulate the autonomic nervous system, reducing that sympathetic dominance and promoting parasympathetic activation. So let's take a closer look at each of these and how they contribute to physical health, along with fostering that sense of empowerment, self-efficacy, and pain relief. Engaging in cardiovascular exercise is this really, really powerful and sometimes underrated tool for managing persistent pain. Regular aerobic activities, like we mentioned earlier, things like walking, cycling, or swimming, offer a bunch of benefits that positively influence pain perception and overall well-being. Cardiovascular exercise increases blood flow, which delivers essential nutrients and oxygen to tissues, supporting that tissue health and healing processes. This enhanced circulation can also help reduce inflammation in the body, easing some of the discomfort caused by persistent pain conditions. Physical activity also triggers the release of endorphins, our natural pain-relieving chemicals produced by the body. These endorphins act as natural analgesics, providing temporary pain relief and promoting that sense of well-being. Engaging in cardio exercise also supports mental health, helping to alleviate anxiety, depression, and stress, which can exacerbate pain perception. As a result, folks tend to experience improved mood and a greater ability to cope with long-term pain challenges. Furthermore, consistent cardio exercise also promotes physical fitness and resilience, allowing us to tolerate pain better and function more effectively in daily activities. This increased physical capacity contributes to an improved quality of life and that sense of control over pain. So cardio is a really crucial component of our pain management program, but it's not the only physically centered tool that we'll be using. Engaging in corrective exercise is also a really key part of managing persistent pain by addressing some of those underlying biomechanical imbalances, weaknesses, and movement dysfunctions. This specialized form of exercise focuses on improving posture, muscle imbalances, and movement patterns, leading to pain relief and enhanced physical function. Corrective exercise targets specific muscle groups and joints, helping to restore proper alignment and balance in the body. By addressing these imbalances, we can alleviate stress on certain tissues, reducing pain and discomfort associated with persistent conditions. And through corrective exercise, we seek to strengthen those weak muscles, stabilize understable joints, providing better support and reducing the load on painful areas. As a result from this, individuals experience improved functional ability, reduced pain, and increased overall physical performance. Through corrective exercise, we're also seeking to enhance individual proprioception and body awareness, which both promote better movement control and coordination. This heightened awareness, this heightened proprioception, allows for more efficient and pain-free movement during daily activities, which further reduces the risk of future injuries. And perhaps most importantly for the work that I help my clients with, corrective exercises are tailored to individual needs, targeting specific areas of concern. This personalized approach allows for a really comprehensive assessment and the development of a targeted exercise plan, addressing the unique factors contributing to an individual's pain experience. By incorporating corrective exercises into the routine, we can address the root causes of movement pain, leading to long-term improvements in pain management, enhanced physical function, and that overall better quality of life. All of those practices that have that more physical focus bring additional benefits on top of the changes of soft tissue or joint ranges of motion. And many of those healthy changes circle back around to that concept of classic conditioning that we saw earlier, the principle that pairing a neutral stimulus with a certain outcome can lead to the development of a conditioned response. In the context of movement and persistent pain, The goal is to create new associations that replace the pain-related responses with positive ones. So to begin, we'd like to encourage you to engage in movements and activities that are within your pain tolerance and don't exacerbate pain. These movements can be as simple as gentle stretching or low-impact exercise. During and immediately after the movement, positive reinforcements are introduced, such as verbal encouragement, rewards, other positive feedback. For example, maybe a client engaging in a pain-free range of motion exercise might receive some positive feedback from me guiding them through it, or experience that bigger sense of accomplishment and that improved mood. These positive reinforcements help to create a positive association with movement itself. So through repeated pairings of pain-free movement with positive reinforcement, the brain starts to establish new neural connections, associating the movement with positive experiences rather than with pain, which is pretty incredible. And over time, this can help to reshape perception of movement and promote that more positive outlook. It's really important to note that this process requires a gradual and very individualized approach, starting with small, achievable movements and gradually increasing intensity or complexity can help build confidence and prevent triggering those pain responses. It's also crucial to consider factors such as pacing, individual preferences, and any underlying physical limitations. At the same time, incorporating strategies like mindfulness and relaxation techniques can further enhance the positive conditioning process. By focusing on the present moment and cultivating a calm and positive mindset during movement, we can reinforce the association between movement and positive experiences. Classic conditioning principles might have gotten us into trouble in the past, but using these iterative techniques with positive reinforcement, we can gradually shift perception of movement from one associated with pain to one associated with positive outcomes. And while we're at it, I want to spend a bit more time focusing on that gradual element of progress and talk a little bit more about the importance of pacing. Intentionally pacing the rate of return to activity is crucial in persistent pain rehabilitation to avoid making that pain worse, and also to foster that successful recovery process. Like we've seen when dealing with persistent pain, the nervous system is often highly sensitized and hypersensitive, perceiving even non-painful activities as threatening or harmful. That heightened sensitivity can lead to a vicious cycle of pain, fear, avoidance behaviors, hindering the progress in our rehabilitation. By gradually and intentionally pacing the return to activity, folks with persistent pain can give their nervous system the opportunity to recalibrate and to adapt to the new demands. Going too quickly or pushing too hard can trigger pain flares and reinforce negative pain associations, potentially setting back that progress and causing further distress. But pacing allows us to break free from that cycle of fear and avoidance and build confidence in the ability to engage in physical activities without significant pain or harm. Pacing involves finding a balance between challenging the body to promote healing and function while avoiding overwhelming or overloading the nervous system. A gradual and structured approach to activity reintroduction helps to retrain our nervous system, reducing the sensitivity to pain signals and enhancing capacity to tolerate movements. This process is also essential for rebuilding that physical fitness, strength, and flexibility, which might have declined due to pain-related inactivity. By respecting the body's current limitations and progressing at a pace that we can manage, we can experience incremental improvements in pain tolerance and physical function. And as we build momentum, we can gradually take on more challenging activities without fear of worsening pain or setbacks. Intentional pacing also empowers folks to develop self-awareness and recognize the early signs of pain exacerbation. It allows for adjustments in the rehabilitation plan as needed, preventing potential setbacks and ensuring steady progress towards pain relief and functional recovery. So overall, intentionally pacing the rate of return to activity in persistent pain rehab is essential for promoting that positive rehab experience, instilling the confidence in movement, and supporting the body's natural healing processes. It allows folks to regain control over their own pain experience, fostering a more successful and sustainable path to recovery. The last bin in the toolkit that I want to emphasize the importance of is developing emotional flexibility. Developing emotional flexibility and processing past trauma plays a vital role in persistent pain management by addressing the complex interplay between emotional well-being and pain perception. So emotional regulation there, our first one on the list. Emotional flexibility involves the ability to recognize, understand, and effectively respond to emotions. By developing some more of these regulation skills, we can better manage our stress, anxiety, and the negative emotions that often accompany persistent pain. This in turn helps reduce the body's stress response and contributes to calming the nervous system. Decreasing pain magnification, right? When emotional distress is high, the brain's processing centers may magnify those pain signals, intensifying the perception of pain. Addressing emotional issues and processing past trauma can help break this amplification cycle, reducing the overall pain experience. Doing all of this can have cascading effects, like alleviating tension and muscle contraction. That emotional distress can manifest physically as muscle tension and contraction, which can contribute to pain and discomfort. So by processing that emotional stress and the trauma, individuals may experience that reduced muscle tension, leading to better pain management and improved overall physical function. Emotional flexibility also fosters better and healthier adaptive coping strategies, allowing folks to respond constructively to pain-related challenges. Healthy coping mechanisms such as mindfulness, relaxation techniques, and positive reframing can empower folks to navigate pain with greater resilience and acceptance. All of this can also help break the fear and avoidance cycle. This emotional distress can lead to fear avoidance behaviors, where we start to avoid activities that we associate with pain or fear of exacerbating pain. Processing past trauma and building emotional flexibility can help approach activities with less fear, promoting that gradual re-engagement in physical and social activities. All of this can also help us reduce catastrophizing. Emotional distress can lead to catastrophizing thoughts, where we start to perceive pain as unbearable or catastrophic. Addressing emotional issues can help in challenging and reframing these thoughts, leading to a more balanced and realistic perspective on pain. It can also help us deal with flare-ups. Emotional flexibility equips us with the tools to manage pain flare-ups more effectively. When we're faced with increased pain intensity, emotional resilience enables us to cope with the situation more effectively, preventing a downward spiral of distress and pain amplification. And lastly, it can also help to facilitate acceptance. Right? Processing past trauma and developing emotional flexibility can support the acceptance of living with long-term pain. And acceptance does not mean giving up on managing pain. Instead, it involves acknowledging and adapting to the condition while pursuing that fulfilling life. In the pursuit of all of these factors, I cannot recommend enough working with a licensed mental health professional, a therapist, a counselor, a psychiatrist, etc. If you're not doing that already, I'll make sure to provide some resources so that you can find qualified mental health professionals that could be a good fit for you later on in our workshop. And as we start to get near to the end of the material that we're going to cover together, I want to run through a couple other things real quickly that might be on your radar in the world of trauma research. These are things that have shown some promising development or research in recent years, but aren't something that we are going to be working on directly. Right? And a few of them, like the psychedelics, are not currently FDA approved. There's things like EMDR, you might have heard of, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. It can help trauma and pain sufferers by facilitating the processing of traumatic memories, reducing the emotional impact of those memories, and promoting adaptive coping strategies, which can alleviate distress and improve that well-being. You also see TMS up there, which stands for transcranial magnetic stimulation. TMS can help trauma and pain sufferers by modulating that brain activity, offering potential relief from persistent pain and addressing underlying emotional distress through non-invasive brain stimulation. In the middle thread here, we also have some more experiential things, right? Things like theater. Participation in theater can help trauma and pain sufferers by providing a therapeutic outlet for emotional expression, can promote self-confidence, and can foster that sense of community and support. VR and hypnosis. So virtual reality is being used in long-term pain management to provide immersive and distraction-based experiences that help to reduce pain perception and enhance overall well-being. Hypnosis is also being used in persistent pain management to tap into the mind's potential, promoting relaxation, altering pain perception, and empowering individuals to gain control over their pain experience. We also have the yoga there. right? Yoga is being utilized in long-term pain management and has been for a long time to enhance flexibility, strengthen the body, improve posture, and cultivate mindfulness, right? Fostering that holistic well-being and pain relief. And in our last thread there, we have conversation around psychedelics, right? Things like MDMA or psilocybin. And responsible MDMA or psilocybin-assisted therapy can potentially help trauma and pain sufferers by facilitating emotional processing, reducing fear responses, promoting that sense of connection and well-being, along with promoting that psychological exploration or promoting neuroplasticity, potentially facilitating transformative healing experiences that may positively impact pain management and overall well-being. Again, though, just that quick note, those are not currently FDA approved. So before we wrap things up entirely, I also want to just share a little preview of the path ahead and talk about how healing is a non-linear journey. On our dotted line there, we have the expectations of what we want that journey to look like. We want our bodies and our pain experience to be like fixing a car. Do you need a new part? All right, here you go. All set to get back on the road. Keep humming along smoothly. However, in the pursuit of healing, we have to recognize that the journey is far from this straight and predictable path. It's more like navigating this winding trail with those unexpected turns and those occasional and sometimes painful detours. Healing is not a linear process where we move from one point to another in this direct, clean manner. Instead, it unfolds in its own unique and sometimes dirty way. Along this nonlinear journey, we will encounter lots of moments of progress and growth, but we'll also face some setbacks and some challenges that can make us question our progress. It's essential to understand that those setbacks are a natural part of the healing process, and they don't define our overall progress. The key here, and it's incredibly difficult, but the key here is to approach healing with patience and self-compassion. It's okay to take those steps forward and backward as long as we generally keep moving in that healing direction with a sense of determination. Every twist and turn in the path offers us an opportunity to learn, to reflect, to grow. We gain insights into our own resilience and our own strength as we navigate through those difficult times. In the practical realm, it's essential to acknowledge that healing may require different approaches and different strategies. Some days we might make these really big strides forward. Other days, we might need to take it slow and just practice a little bit more of that gentle self-care. It's going to be about working together to find a balance and understanding that healing doesn't follow a set timetable. And of course, we can always seek support from others along this journey. Talking to loved ones, seeking guidance from professionals, or connecting with support groups can provide that sense of community and understanding during what can be a really isolating process at times. Remember, this path of healing is unique for each individual, unique for each of you. Embrace the nonlinearity of the journey. Celebrate the progress that's made and be kind to yourself during the setbacks. Trust in your resilience and know that you are capable of navigating through the twists and turns of healing with strength and determination. All right, so with that in the books, let's talk a little bit more about what it might look like to take the next steps from here to continue on your own healing journey. First, I always encourage you to take advantage of as many opportunities for educating yourself and that self-empowerment as possible. I've got 4 books up here, books that I really highly recommend checking out, and a couple of which I've already referenced throughout our workshop today. The Painful Truth by Dr. Monty Lyman is up there on the left. Chronic Pain Rehabilitation by Dr. Evan Parks is top right. The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk down there on the bottom left is another fantastic book that focuses on the lifelong work of helping trauma sufferers. And then on the lower right there, Move the Body, Heal the Mind. It prevents a lot of really exciting and current research around some of those great ties between what moving your body can do to help overcome anxiety, depression, and a lot of those other different ties between our physical movement and our mental health. And the other block there, I'll provide a link in the description below or in the copy of the slides with that network for being able to search your area, search for a good fit for a licensed mental health professional for all of those reasons that we discussed earlier. So hopefully you're leaving here today feeling more empowered that you have the tools within you to take charge of your own healing. I truly believe that anyone who has developed persistent pain also holds the keys within themselves to reclaim a life where pain doesn't dictate who you are and what you do. But just because you inherently have the ability to make that positive change doesn't mean that you have to go through all of that work alone. I'm always happy to be here to be a resource to talk more about how a customized program of corrective exercise, breath work, and nervous system reconditioning could help you move towards your goals, and how to help you move toward healing through motion. When I work with my own clients, it can often be helpful to think of us focusing on improving two aspects of the whole self together. We are going to be making mechanical or more visible or physical improvements. We're going to address unique injury history and your movement goals, collaborate together to form a customized corrective exercise plan to improve any of those muscular imbalances. Within that plan, we're going to focus on stretching some of those overactive or shortened muscles, and we're going to work on strengthening some of those underactive or those lengthened muscles. Above all, we're going to seek to restore that postural and that structural integrity for improved quality of movement. And we're also going to be making improvements and changes to our nervous system. I want to be there as a resource to understand your unique pain history and factors that have contributed to sympathetic nervous system activation, whether that's in the past or in your daily life. We'll continue this education regarding pain management science and human movement anatomy, and we'll experiment with various techniques like breathwork, body scan, and more of those to build a self-reliant toolkit that you can go back to on your own. And of course, throughout this, we'll be reintegrating that positive conditioning with movement. All of this, of course, is aiming to seek to reclaim that fun and that joy in maybe old hobbies that you had, new ones that you're looking forward to. Throughout this entire process, I value an adventurous and highly personalized mindset. Everyone's pain experiences are different, and maybe the body scan that works well for someone doesn't work as well as the progressive muscle relaxation does for you, and that's okay. What's most important is that you have somebody by your side that's not going to give up on you, that is going to be a collaborator with you to experiment on some of those things, and that's going to have the expertise to guide you with a steady and knowledgeable hand as you grow your own toolkit to become more self-reliant in managing your persistent pain and moving forward on your healing journey. All right, everyone, thanks for joining in on today's workshop. Hopefully you're leaving here feeling like you have a little bit more knowledge and are more empowered to continue on your healing journey. While you're taking those next steps, I don't want you to have to feel like you're alone in this. I know firsthand how isolating persistent pain can be. And I also know how simple yet powerful it can be to share in that experience with someone else, especially with someone knowledgeable about helping you get to that next level of relief that you've been searching for. If you have questions about the topics that we covered today, or if you'd like to talk more about whether corrective exercise, breath work, nervous system reconditioning could help you move towards your goals, please feel free to reach out via the links provided here on screen and in the description below. I'll also be posting some additional workshops that take deeper dives into some of the breathwork practices that we covered today, along with a much closer look at corrective exercise and how you can put that to work for you. If you want to make sure that you don't miss those, please like this video and subscribe to the channel so we can continue on this adventure together. I hope this workshop has helped you in some way. And if you need some more help, I really look forward to having that conversation with you very soon. All right, we'll see you next time.